As football fans waited for the new Premier League season in August, England sweltered in the hottest summer on record. Fevered anticipation fueled dreams of glory and despair. The season promised skill, passion, failure, commitment, blood, sweat and tears. For some, it would prove unbeatable. August the 16th couldn't come quickly enough.
From the East he came, one man who would change the landscape of English football overnight. The purchase of Chelsea Football Club by Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich in July was the most significant event in world football. £100 million of debts were cleared with a flourish of the chequebook. The world's best footballers headed to West London, pulled by the lure of the ruble. Chelsea were now a force to be reckoned with.
Manchester United had lifted their 8th Premier League title in May 2003, cementing their place at the top of the tree. But the seismic event at Stamford Bridge had rippled north.
They brought a lot of quality in. With Chelsea signing all these players, spending all the money, Arsenal and themselves have got much the same squads. But, you know, the Premier League's not an easy league to win. It's a very, very difficult. You could go anywhere in this league and lose. And therefore, we look upon, hopefully, our experience helping us when it comes to the crucial part of the season, around about March and April and May.
At Arsenal, German goalkeeper Jens Lehmann was the only major arrival, and he cost just £1.5 million. But Wenger knew he had plenty of talent to improve on last season's second place.
Every day, my job is to come in here and try to do the maximum with what I have available. And Ranieri does certainly the same, like by spending 110 million. They will certainly fight for it even more, so and make it tougher for us and for Man United.
Unlimited resources brings pressure, and Chelsea manager Claudio Ranieri was now responsible for integrating 10 new signings.
Manchester United and Arsenal are ahead of us. They've been working together for many years. Even if you add 1 or 2 players, the nucleus is still there. I have to introduce 9, 10, 11 players. Well, that's the difference. I have great players, but we're not a team. So we have to work hard in that direction.
Chelsea kicked off a new era against a Liverpool side desperate to make the running with the big three.
And it's Veron! Juan Sebastian Veron starts the Roman revolution at Chelsea.
Arsenal, meanwhile, welcomed Everton to Highbury.
Nightfall for Henry. Good effort, good save, but it's going to go in, is it? No save. Perez. It's 2-0.
The champions began their defence at home to Bolton, parading new boy Cristiano Ronaldo.
Ronaldo. Scholes. Van Nistelrooy. Giggs. 2-0 Manchester United. And Giggs gets his second.
3 wins for the big 3, and the 3-horse race everyone was predicting had begun.
Chelsea weren't the only club introducing fresh talent to the Premiership. Middlesbrough pulled off a coup de grace by luring Gaishka Mendieta to Teesside. And a host of players, old and new, came to spice up life in English football. And after an absence of only 1 season, Leicester City made a welcome return to the Premier League, with 9 new players costing a grand total of nothing.
My first full season as a manager in the Premier League, and that's exciting in itself. Let's try and prove a few people wrong, because everybody's written us off before we've kicked a ball. Let's go out there and enjoy ourselves.
One last one, this will be the last one, all this way. Right.
It was carnival time in the East Midlands as Leicester kicked off at the Smart Walker Stadium against Southampton. 2-0 up after only 10 minutes of the season, the Foxes ended up sharing the points, and their home form was to prove problematic for the whole campaign.
Wolverhampton Wanderers welcomed Premiership football to Molineux for the first time. The old gold shirts of Wolves had been absent from the top flight for 19 years, and manager Dave Jones was anticipating problems.
It's going to be tough, and that's the way we're going to approach every game. That's the way we approached every game in the First Division. Nobody's going to give us anything. If we're going to get something, we have to go out and earn it. And I can't see it being any different for the next 12 months of our campaign.
Day one of that campaign, and Wolves were dealt a severe lesson in the harsh realities of life in the Premier League. Blackburn Rovers knocking 5 past Matt Murray in the Wolves goal. It was to be a long, hard season in the Black Country.
Premier League football was also taking a bow at Fratton Park as Portsmouth returned to the top flight after a 15-year absence. Promoted as champions, the passion of Portsmouth's fans lit up the Premier League landscape, and one in particular stood out above the rest, the legend that is John, Portsmouth Football Club, Westwood.
I love the club. I mean, I think about it every week. I wake up in the mornings, I'm always thinking about Pompey. I'm always buying the newspapers to read about Pompey. And it's just another way of showing my devotion to the club. And it was the best thing I ever did. Everyone else thinks I'm crackers, but I thought it was great.
Of all the promoted clubs, Portsmouth, under the guidance of Harry Redknapp and Jim Smith, looked best equipped for the Premiership. Their blistering start to the season confirmed it. They knocked 4 past Bolton, 37-year-old Teddy Sheringham scoring the first Premier League hat-trick of the season. After 3 games, Portsmouth were top of the Premiership.
We've had a great start, but they've got to accept that there are going to be bad days and there's going to be good days, and we've got to enjoy the good days and we've got to all stick together through the bad days, and that's how it's going to be. It's a tough, tough division, but we've made a smashing start.
Glenn Hoddle's return to Tottenham Hotspur as manager in 2001 was billed as the return of the Messiah. But 2 years on, and the headlines had a distinctly funereal tone. With only 4 points from their opening 6 games, Spurs were 17th in the table. Through a poetic circularity, Hoddle's previous club Southampton came to North London to inflict the defeat that would condemn him. The legend had returned to the lane but was about to suffer an ignominious fall from grace.
I'm feeling the hurt more than the pressure. The pressure, I've been there and I had to deal with that with the England job. I'm hurt inside. That's where the pressure comes, if you like. It's very hurtful to see that we're not getting the results that we can achieve, and I know what they can achieve in there.
Hoddle was sacked the very next day.
Dominating the news in the early part of the season was Manchester United defender Rio Ferdinand. Having missed a mandatory drug test, his case went to the very top, with FIFA President Sepp Blatter calling for the FA to impose a lengthy ban. Ferdinand claimed he forgot about the test at the club's Carrington training ground on the 23rd of September. Sir Alex Ferguson stuck firmly behind the club's record signing and continued to include him in the team selections. Ferdinand's domestic and international future was to be decided at an FA hearing in December.
Chief Executive Peter Kenyon resigned his post at Manchester United in September. He was to become Chelsea's latest signing, but would not be allowed to join the Blues until February.
When Arsenal travelled to Old Trafford at the end of September for the first meeting between the two Premier League giants, no one could have predicted what would follow. As 0-0 draws go, it was highly volatile. Patrick Vieira was sent off for a lunge at Ruud van Nistelrooy. Arsenal accused him of play-acting, and when the Dutchman missed a late penalty kick, the Arsenal players decided to take the law into their own hands. passions were at boiling point.
I think Van Nistelrooy doesn't help. He's a great player, but his attitude is always looking for provocation and diving, and he looks a nice boy, but I think on the pitches not always a fair behaviour.
But the press lambasted Arsenal and were critical of Wenger's apparent lack of contrition. 6 Arsenal players were banned for a total of 9 matches, and the club were fined £175,000.
We overreacted, but I think the media's overreacted as well. We didn't behave like we should have done and like we want to behave, and of course we apologise for that, and think we want to rectify that, and it will never happen again.
The impact of the bans could have wrecked Arsenal's season, but the Gunners improved their behaviour and never looked back.
The Millennium Bridge dominates the River Tyne, but in September it was a bridge over troubled waters. Without a win in their opening 6 games, Newcastle United was struggling in the relegation zone. Perennial slow starters, an early exit from the Champions League added to their frustration.
What has to happen at this club, what this club needs at the moment, is time to go over these bumps. You know, we're hitting choppy waters, and we need to get over the choppy waters and get into a calmer sea.
Newcastle had to wait until October the 4th for their first win of the season.
By the end of September, the top of the Barclays English Premier League had a familiar look, with the top 3 separated by a point. Liverpool in 8th had made a disappointing start.
Newcastle, Leeds and Tottenham were the surprise names at the bottom of the table. Wolves shared with Newcastle the unenviable record of being the only teams in the division without a win.
After 6 Premier League matches, Steve Bruce's Birmingham City boasted the meanest defence in the league. Goalkeeper Mike Taylor had only had to collect the ball from his net 3 times, and the Blues were in a kind of dreamland. 4th place in the table.
We're not going to try and get carried away with it. We've got to keep everybody's feet on the ground. It's been a great start, but we know that, like this week, for instance, we're going to Manchester. We've got Chelsea round the corner, Villa after that, so there's 2 or 3 huge big games coming up.
Having captained United for Sir Alex Ferguson, Steve Bruce was to receive a harsh lesson from his old boss at Old Trafford.
Forlan for Manchester United. Look at the space! Giggs! Birmingham's defence tarted for Ryan Giggs.
3 conceded in 1 match, but Birmingham City were to have another good season in the top flight.
Those who made their way to Molineux on the 25th of October could not have anticipated what they were about to witness. At half-time, Leicester were cruising 3-0 up against Wolves.
For 45 minutes, you're looking at how you can change it, how you can stop goals going in. What was going through your mind is how can you go out the second half and, you know, improve and try and get back into it. But as the game unfolded, it went from just getting back into the game to getting a point from the game to actually knowing and believing that you were then going to go on and win it, because we were in full flow and Leicester were on the back foot. On that day, I think everybody went through every emotion. Confidence just soared right through the team, and I've always maintained that goals do change the attitude of players within a game.
In East and West London, 2 Premier League teams were striking a blow for the less glamorous clubs. Charlton and Fulham were giving the big guns a run for their money. By November, they sat next to each other in 4th and 5th.
I think that clubs like ourselves, you know, we should be congratulated if we can bring in, you know, decent results, and you know, if we play as well as we can, we think we can stay in the top 10. The last 3 years in the Premiership, I think it's been 9th, 14th and 12th, and you know, the last 2 seasons we've been in really good positions to finish in the top 10.
Rookie manager Chris Coleman had been the bookies' favourite for the sack at the start of the season, but Fulham were thriving under his guidance.
A lot of clubs can look up to Charlton because, you know, the way they run, the financial stability of the club, year in, year out, they're in the Premiership. So, you know, they are a shining light.
With 8 goals in 13 games, Louis Saha was beginning to attract attention from bigger clubs, but he seemed to be enjoying a stable life in West London.
I'm completely focused on Fulham. There are always rumours. There are always journalists who'll drum up stuff simply for the sake of it. We don't take any notice. We're playing well, so that's going to attract gossip.
A 3-1 victory at Old Trafford was the highlight of the season for the Fulham fans.
Nobody expected us to beat United 3-1. And in the fashion, in the manner which we beat them as well, we beat them convincingly. We were by far the better team on the day, and not many teams can say that when they go to Old Trafford.
The beat of the Blackburn Rovers drummers echoes around the Lancashire hills that surround Ewood Park. 6th last season, Rovers were 2nd from bottom in early November and were finding it difficult to get into the rhythm of the new campaign.
I would love to think we could finish 6th again. I don't think we will. We're sitting in the wrong half of the table as far as we're concerned. Last year we had a very good year. We get nothing for last year. It's all about what you do tomorrow, not only in this business as in life.
Rovers were learning to cope without Damien, Duff and David Dunn, both sold in the summer. The opening day drubbing of Wolves was a fading memory, and they now started to leak goals as an element of doubt crept in.
We've been punched on the nose too many times already this year. We've shot ourselves in the foot too many times this year. But they've shown a resilience which suggests to me that we'll be fine at the end of the day.
The beat went on, but Rovers were to struggle all season amid rumours of dressing room unrest.
In October, Sir Alex Ferguson became involved in a row over the ownership of the Wonder Horse Rock of Gibraltar with John Magner, a main shareholder at Old Trafford. Magner added more fuel to the fire by suggesting Sir Alex should only be offered a year-long rolling contract at United instead of the expected 4-year deal.
Liverpool's influential captain Steven Gerrard pledged his future to the Merseyside club for another 3 years in November, keeping him at Anfield until 2007.
In October, out-of-favour goalkeeper Fabien Barthez left Old Trafford to join French club Marseille on a loan deal. Barthez had won the European Cup in a previous spell at the club. The deal was to become permanent. By November, Leeds United were struggling on and off the field. Crippled by debt, the club were facing administration. They were bottom of the league, and manager Peter Reid was sacked after a 6-1 thrashing at Portsmouth. Elland Road legend Eddie Gray was handed the poison chalice and was under no illusion that the future looked bleak.
I think the supporters realise that the club are in trouble, you know. They looked at the situation, the players that have left the club, the financial troubles of the club are well documented.
2 years ago in May I was sat in Valencia watching us in the semi-final of the Champions League, and I can't believe we're in the position we're in. Yeah, it's done a complete about-face with a real sense of alarm about it.
The fans will always turn up. Leeds United, if we get relegated, we'll still be here next season. Well, maybe.
Around £100 million in debt, Gray was attempting to rescue Leeds' season while the club fought for its very life. But the players were lacking belief after only 2 wins all season.
Obviously the fans are thinking what's going on, you know. One season we're at the top of the league and pushing for Champions League, and we're in the semi-final of the European Cup, and you know, now we're at plump bottom of the league, and you know, we're struggling a little bit.
The incredible loyalty of the Leeds fans is well known, and it would be tested to breaking point throughout an emotional season.
By the last day of November, the big three had all played each other and were out on their own.
Edu takes, scores! Crespo's shot, 1-1. What a glorious shot it was. Perez is away. Can he find Henry here? Oh, he can! It's a goal! What a mess-up! Extraordinary! Here's Ronaldo. Good effort! Is that a penalty kick? It is!
Chelsea were sitting pretty at the top of the table, and with a form team having won their previous 5 matches. Fulham and Charlton were enjoying life in 4th and 5th respectively.
With 3 wins in their previous 4 Barclaycard English Premier League matches, Leicester City were beginning to climb the table. Everton had slipped worryingly into the drop zone.
This programme is sponsored by Bet365.
By December, Liverpool were 14 points off the pace and had already conceded that the title was beyond them for another year.
Ryan Giggs, and it's in again. Liverpool 0, Manchester United 2.
Following that defeat by Manchester United, Gerard Houllier found himself under intense scrutiny from the fans and media alike.
The championship this season is out of reach because there's 3 teams who I think probably racing up front and maybe playing in a league of their own at the moment.
But it wasn't just the big 3 who were taking points from Liverpool. Once a fortress, Anfield was becoming a gift shop. Before Christmas, the Reds had won only 4 times at home. Houllier was quick to list his roster of injured players in defence of the slump.
At the moment, we're just suffering because we're missing key players. I mean, we've got about 5 or 6 international players who are sidelined.
You can't really hide behind that, and I don't think we should. The fact is our performances haven't been up to scratch, and you have to, as players, look in the mirror and say, can you do more?
We win together and we suffer together. And this is a period where, in fact, the great characters and the true colours are shown. And I'm not disappointed by my play, I can tell you.
Adrift of the top 3, Liverpool would have to dig deep to save their season and salvage their pride.
Get yourself involved in a bit of that.
Southampton's James Beattie and Portsmouth's Matt Taylor were the best of enemies, ahead of the first South Coast derby in 15 years. The Saints were looking to improve on their best ever finish of 8th last season, and victory against their arch-rivals would take them to 4th place in the table. There was also the little matter of local pride.
With the people in Hampshire, yeah. When the fixture is coming up and approaching, that's all they talk about.
Well, all our fans do on a Saturday afternoon or Tuesday is shout about, sing about Southampton. I'm sure that all your fans do is sing about us. So
especially when we're on telly.
Yeah. So you knew it was there, and you know the rivalry's there. But I don't think that until you actually put into what is the arena, the stadium, I don't think you actually know what it is, and it just hits you.
Come the big match, the Saints swept to victory in emphatic fashion, though Pompey would gain revenge at Fratton Park later in the season.
James Beattie dishes it out to Portsmouth. He has got in on the act after all.
So the Saints were up to 4th going into Christmas. Despite his success at Southampton, manager Gordon Strachan wouldn't last the season, resigning his post citing medical and personal reasons.
Christmas is always a hectic spell for Premier League clubs, but Bolton took time out to brighten the festive period at a local children's hospital.
We do obviously have a very busy schedule over December, but there's always time for something like this for just an hour or two to give up your spare time and just, like I said, come down and cheer these youngsters up. We've a game just over every 3 days now, which is pretty tough going, but something that, as long as the lads stay fit and as confident as they've been playing recently, hopefully we can have a shock or two and upset one or two and pinch a point here and there.
Bolton started their Christmas programme level on points with Liverpool. A comfortable win for the Reds moved them within 3 points of that much-coveted 4th place. At the Valley, Charlton were taking full advantage of Chelsea's slow start to a derby they began as favourites.
And it's in! What a start! Just over 40 seconds! Mutu with it. And it's glanced in! And it's John Terry! Now Yule for 4. 4-1 to Charlton. They're scoring rather too easily for Chelsea's liking.
That defeat saw Arsenal leapfrog Chelsea into 2nd. Wolves found themselves 6 points behind Leeds at the foot of the table. A fortuitous own goal from Alan Smith gave Wolves hope of a much-needed victory. 2 second-half strikes from Stefan Iversen wrapped up all 3 points for the home side. The gap at the foot of the table.